If your Canadian study permit is going to expire before you finish school, this is one deadline you do not want to discover the night before. IRCC says students who want to keep studying at the same school should apply to extend their study permit at least 30 days before it expires. But the 30-day rule is only the beginning. Your passport can limit how long the extension lasts. Your school may need to verify your enrollment. Whether you need a new PAL or TAL depends on what you're changing. Leaving Canada while the application is pending can affect your ability to keep studying when you return. And if your permit is already expired, you are no longer dealing with a normal extension. You may be dealing with restoration of status. So let's walk through the 2026 process correctly. Start with the expiry date printed on your study permit. If you need more time to complete your studies, IRCC says you must apply for an extension at least 30 days before that date. And applying earlier than 30 days can be sensible because processing takes time and other documents may also be expiring. One document deserves special attention: your passport. IRCC cannot extend your study permit beyond the expiry date of your passport. So imagine your program continues until December 2027, but your passport expires in March 2027. A study permit extension cannot simply carry you past that passport expiry. If your passport is close to expiring, renewing it before your extension application may prevent you from receiving a shorter permit than you actually need. There's another 90-day rule that is easy to misunderstand. Study permits are commonly issued for the length of the program, plus an additional 90 days. But if you finish your studies earlier than expected, the date printed on the permit is not necessarily how long your student status continues. IRCC says the permit stops being valid on whichever comes first: the date printed on your permit or 90 days after you complete your studies. That 90-day period begins when your school first notifies you that you've completed the program. So, an extension is for someone who genuinely needs more time to continue studying. It is not a way to ignore the rules that apply after completing your program. For post-secondary students, your school has an active role in the extension process. Your DLI will normally provide either a letter of acceptance or a letter of enrollment, depending on whether you're treated as a new or current student. When you apply online, that school letter goes into the specific letter of acceptance upload field. Here's a detail worth knowing before you submit. IRCC requires the DLI to verify that letter. If your school does not verify the letter by IRCC's deadline, the application can be returned and the processing fee refunded. So don't assume that uploading the document ends the school's involvement. If there's a verification problem, contact your DLI. Next comes one of the biggest 2026 questions. Do you need a new provincial or territorial attestation letter? If you're already in Canada and you're extending at the same designated learning institution and at the same level of study, IRCC lists you as exempt from the PAL or TAL requirement. So a straightforward extension at the same college, university, and level normally does not require a new PAL or TAL. But change the facts, and the answer can change. If you're extending at a different DLI or moving to a different level of study, IRCC generally requires a new PAL or TAL unless you fall under an exemption. One notable 2026 exception is moving from post-secondary studies into a degree-granting master's or doctoral program at a public DLI, because those programs have their own PAL or TAL exemption. And if you are restoring lost student status rather than extending a valid permit, the rule is stricter. IRCC says a student applying for restoration needs a new PAL or TAL, even if they intend to remain at the same DLI and the same level, unless another exemption applies. If you're changing post-secondary schools, don't treat it like changing an address. You generally need to apply for a new study permit by extending your current permit for the new DLI. And IRCC says you normally cannot begin studying at that new school until the new permit is approved, except in specific circumstances. There is a useful new feature here. IRCC currently says students changing to a new post-secondary DL I can get their study permit extension application processed in 60 days if they follow the school change instructions. An extension application is not financially invisible just because you're already in Canada. IRCC says the updated financial requirements also apply to study permit extensions. And officers assess whether you have enough money to continue supporting yourself while studying in Canada. Your application form itself asks about your tuition, room and board, other study costs, the amount of money you have available, and who will pay your expenses. The exact supporting documents depend on your situation. What matters is that the numbers tell a credible story about how the remaining period of study will actually be funded. Most students must apply online. The central application form is IMM 5709, application to change conditions, extend my stay, or remain in Canada as a student. IRCC updated that form again in June 2026, so use the current version generated through the application process rather than an old form you saved months ago. You'll answer questions online first. IRCC uses those answers to create a personalized document checklist. That checklist matters because two students may not be asked for exactly the same supporting documents. And here's another practical detail. For a study permit extension, IRCC currently instructs applicants to use the IRCC Secure account. Even if you used a different account to apply for your original study permit, IRCC says to use the Secure account for the extension. The current federal fee for a study permit, including an extension, is $150 Canadian per person. Before submitting, check the entire personalized document list. Make sure the school letter is correct. Make sure your passport covers the period you're requesting. Make sure the PAL or TAL question is handled correctly. And download your payment receipt and proof of submission. This is one of the most important reasons to apply before expiry. If IRCC receives your extension application before your current permit expires, you can remain in Canada while they make a decision. And if you applied to extend your study permit before it expired, IRCC says you can continue studying under the conditions of your original permit while you wait. This is commonly called maintained status. But there is an important condition, that protection for continuing your studies applies while you remain in Canada. Can you leave Canada while the extension is being processed? You can travel, but don't assume you return in exactly the same position. To return, you still need the appropriate valid travel document, such as a visitor visa or ETA where required. And if your extension is still pending when you return, a border officer may admit you as a visitor rather than as a student. IRCC specifically warns that if you're admitted as a visitor while the study permit extension is still being processed, you cannot resume studying until the new permit is approved. So traveling during maintained status is not a decision to make casually. Now the situation changes completely if your permit expired before you applied. You have lost student status. IRCC says you cannot continue studying until your status has been restored and you have received a new study permit. In many cases, you have up to 90 days after losing status to apply for restoration. You must request restoration of student status and a new study permit, submit the required documents, and explain why you need to remain in Canada. And restoration costs significantly more than an ordinary extension. The current fee to restore student status and obtain a new study permit is $396.25, $246.25 for restoration, plus the $150 study permit fee. If you don't apply for restoration within the applicable 90-day period, IRCC says you generally must leave Canada. One workaround you may see online is just switch to visitor status so you get more time to prepare the extension. IRCC specifically warns against treating visitor status that way. Once your current study permit expires, changing to visitor status generally does not simply give you extra time to submit a study permit extension from inside Canada. Most visitors are not eligible to apply for a study permit from within Canada. Before you submit, check that you're not making one of these mistakes. 1. Waiting until the final few days instead of starting before the 30-day deadline. 2. Forgetting that your passport expiry limits your new permit. 3. Assuming every extension is PAL or TAL exempt. 4. Uploading an enrollment letter and never checking whether your DLI verifies it. 5. Changing schools and beginning at the new DLI before you're legally allowed to. 6. Assuming maintained status means international travel has no consequences. 7. Continuing to study after your permit expired when you did not apply in time. And 8. Using an old IMM 5709 form or generic document checklist instead of the current personalized application process. So here's the practical 2026 workflow. Check your permit expiry, check your passport. Start more than 30 days early if possible. Get the correct enrollment or acceptance letter from your DLI. Determine whether you need a PAL, TAL, or CAQ. If you're changing schools, follow the new DLI process. Prepare realistic financial evidence. Complete the current IMM 5709, process through the IRCC Secure account, pay the $150 fee, submit before your current permit expires, save your proof. And while the application is pending, understand exactly what maintained status does and what traveling outside Canada can change. If you've already missed the deadline, stop treating the problem as a normal extension and check immediately whether you're still within the restoration period. Extending a study permit isn't difficult because the form is impossible. It's difficult because one small change, your passport, your school, your study level, your travel plans, or an expired deadline, can change which rules apply. Next on Visa Dispatch, we're breaking down Canada's study permit processing times in 2026, including what IRCC's published estimate really means and what can make an application take longer. Subscribe if you want the details before they become expensive mistakes.